for a while.
All right, ma'am. Now the meeting is on record. Okay.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear and see me?
Yes po ma'am, good evening po.
All right. So I'll start our class. But before that, let me first share my screen for a while. All right. Uh, I can see my slide. Can you see now? Can you now see my slide?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So let's start now. So again, good evening. So our topic for today is about JavaScript. So we're done with the basic of HTML. Then last time we had CSS. Sir Saleh taught us about materials design and wireframing and color coordinations. So now we'll have our website more dynamic. So what we did in our previous meeting are designing website just for displaying. But now we'll be able to create our website in a more dynamic way. So these are the topics that we will be discussing. So in this part, first we will talk about the HTML. Um, Also, we'll talk about XHTML, CSS, JavaScript, and DOM. So it's just a brief background, but we'll tackle more about JavaScript. Of course, we'll discuss what is JavaScript, how do we implement JavaScript into our web pages. We have to know some syntax, of course. We'll discuss operators, data types, we'll try to discuss simple pop-up boxes that will be useful later on. And then my topic also focuses on conditional and switch statements and uh, looping structure. But the functions will be more elaborated by Sir Burhan. Okay, so let's now talk about DHTML, or what we call the dynamic behavior at the client side. So in the dynamic, uh, can you still see my slide? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So dynamic HTML makes possible that a web page to react and change in response to the user's action. So meaning to say, if you will be using a button and then let's say you click on the button and then you want something to happen. So that is where dynamic comes in. So we'll try to combine HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So those are uh, in line with the DHTML. Or sometimes we also use XHTML as well as the data object model. So again, HTML defines the website's content through semantic tags such as the head, the paragraph, the list, etc. While the CSS defines the rules or styles for presenting every aspect of an HTML document. So that is the role of the CSS, wherein we try to change font family, the sizes, the color, the weight. For the background, we sometimes use colors, images. We try to position them in a different way. We sometimes want to display images several times, so we use repeat, positioning, and layout as well. So those are the rules and stylings used inside the CSS. As for the dynamic behavior of our website, that is where JavaScript comes in. So it's the programming logic for interaction with the user to handle events and many others. Okay, so let's now focus on JavaScript. So JavaScript is a front-end scripting language developed by Netscape for dynamic content. It's just a lightweight but with limited capability. It's not really a full-blown programming language. It just makes our website dynamic. So this can also be used as object-oriented language. JavaScript is on the client is a client-side technology. We can embed that in our HTML page and it will be interpreted by the web browser. It is simple and flexible and it is powerful to manipulate even the data object model. So what are the advantages if we're going to use JavaScript? First, implementing of the form validation, react to users' actions, let's say handling of keys, changing an image on moving the mouse over it, sections of a page appearing and disappearing, content loading and changing dynamically, performing complex calculation, custom HTML controls such as scrollable of tables, and implementing Ajax functionality. So what can JavaScript do? So again, it can handle events. So similar to what we mentioned. So those advantages are the things that JavaScript can do. It can handle events. It can read and write HTML elements. It can modify the data object model tree. It can validate the form data. It can access and modify browser cookies. It can detect the user's browser and operating system. This can be used as object-oriented language. It can handle exceptions. So when we say exception, those are errors. And it can perform asynchronous server calls or what we call Ajax. So here's an example, a very basic example of a script. So whenever you want to use a script, you use the element script. Okay, so you can do that inside the head section as well as in the body. In this example, it directly appears once we load this first script.html. Okay, so let's try to do that. So let me first stop sharing. I'll share my entire screen. I already created that, but I did not use the file name that was used in the slide. But nevertheless, it will have the same effect. Uh, Let me share my screen. I'll just... This is how the sample works. Wait, I can see you. Can you now see my entire screen? Can you now see the Visual Studio in the browser?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So on the left side, this is our code. And on the right side, this is our output. So let me just reload. So just like on the slide, so we have here the HTML tag. This is our head, but I did not provide anything yet. For the body, that is where I place my script. So again, for the script, there is an attribute called type. So you just have to input text/JavaScript. And then I just use um, an alert command here with a text that will simply display something on the screen. So this is how it would work. So I just called from I have here the folder where I created all my samples, and then I just, let me do that again. So what I did is just I throw this file over here, or you can simply call that. Where is it? I have to select that code and then put it here in the browser. There. So you can do it that way, or you can simply can file open the file in this browser. So this is the output would look like. So it's just an alert uh, pop up, and then you just have to click on the OK button to go back to the page. Okay, let us go back to our slide. Sorry, here. Can you see the slide? Hello. Can
Yes
you
po.
see the
Yes
slide?
po. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay. So just like the alert, there are other several pop-up boxes together with that. So the alert box is a simple box with just an OK button and with a simple message. Another type of pop-up box is the confirmation box. So this confirmation box will have two buttons now. It has an OK button and a cancel button. Also, in the syntax of the confirm box, you just have to type a question since it will have two options. And then another type of pop-up box is what we call the prompt box. Later on, we will have a simple exercise. You're going to use this prompt box. That's why I initially introduced you with the pop-up boxes. But next meeting will have more of this. So prompt box will allow us to enter a value because the prompt box will provide us with the text box, which is an input field rather that would allow us to input a value, and of course a text that would tell the user on what will be the value to be inputted, and you can provide also a default value initially, or the initial value. In this example, it will provide you a similar pop-up box a while ago, but this time the message would be enter amount, and then we'll have an initial value of 10. But then you can remove that value 10 and then insert another value. And this is how a prompt box looks like. So assuming that you have declared a variable called price, and that is where the prompt value uh, would take place, and then it will look like this one. Initially, the message would be enter the price and then an initial value of 10. And then once you click on OK, the value 10 will be assigned to the variable price. Okay? And then once you enter that, assuming that we have a script for that, it will pop up another alert box which contains the price plus VAT text. So this is the text. And then it will concatenate. So this value 12 will be coming from this computation. It will retrieve the value of the price, which is initially has the value 10, and multiplied it by 1.2. That's why the value in the alert box is now 12, because it computed for the price times 1.2. All right, so that is just an example. Okay. Of course, to be able to maximize the dynamic use of JavaScript, we have to use certain control structures. So in the control structures, there are several conditional as well as looping statements. So let's start with the conditional statement if. So in this example, the syntax for if is the keyword if, and then enclosed in parentheses, you provide the condition. So assuming that you have a variable called unit price with an initial value of 1.3, and then the unit price later on will be used for assigning of value. So assuming that there is a value given for the quantity and the quantity should be greater than 100 so that the unit price will be 1.20 instead of 1.30. So this is just an example. Together with that, every time that you use the if statement, there are certain operators that you can use or options that you can use. We have the greater than, the less than, the greater than equal to, the less than equal to, the not, the equal, and the not equal. Okay, so these are comparison operators. So when you try to use that, let's have this example, assuming that you have two variables. So let's say you have variable A, which is equal to 0, a variable B equal to true. So the first variable is an integer value, while the other variable is a Boolean value. So again, Boolean is true or false only. So in this example, assuming that you want to check on the data type of the variable A, so using the function type of, and then let's assuming that there is no type defined, so and compare it to undefined. So if this is true, it will still evaluate uh, the other end. But there is a shorthand. When we say shorthand, since we are using in this operator an or, um, let me first ask you, have you gone to other programming course before this? Are you familiar with the logical operators or and end, guys? Have you had your programming course before or no?
Yes po.
How about from
Yes po.
PPIU? Are you familiar with this operator or and end? No. Wait, I can see you. I don't know if you're answering me. Let me first stop presenting and just share the slide so that I could see your reaction for a while. Let me share the tab. Yeah. Can you see the slide? So I can divide my screen into two so that I could see you as well. Now, yan. Can now see your, can see everybody. Going back to my question, from PPIU, are you familiar with these operators or and end?
Hello, student from PPIU.
So, PPIU
Answer.
participants, are you familiar with or and end? Or is this two pipes and end is this two ampersand?
I think they are also
Knock, knock.
taking some
You
programming
there?
language also.
Have they, sir, undergone
Yeah,
previously?
yeah, they are taking the programming language.
Okay.
They have basic.
Why are you not answering, guys? I will not eat you. You
Okay,
just have to answer me in the chat box, yes or no. Are you
okay.
familiar with or and end?
Please answer,
Yes or
guys,
no?
from PPIU. Yes or no?
Yeah, yeah, teacher, yeah.
Yes, that's good. That's we have to know if you're getting our presentation or not. Okay. Since you answered yes, so I assume that you already know this. So going back, so in this example, what we try to do is to compare two sets of statement, the left and the right of the or. So on the left side, since assuming that this is false, so if the other side of the or statement is false, you still have to check the right side of the expression or of the operator. But in cases, if you're using or and the left side is already true, even though you don't check on the right side, all of them are already true. Sir, are we on record?
Yes, we are on record.
We are on record. Okay. Noted, Mr. Keo. All right. So going back. Ayun. So if you remember your, let me share na lang an Excel file for a while. Just to summarize and to review you of the operators so that you get to remember those things. Let me share again my screen. All right, so let's have first the OR operator. So let's say you have A and B, and this is A or B. So if this is true and false, this is false. This is true, sorry. If this is false and this is true, this is still true. If false, false, of course this is false. And of course, let's start with both true. Yeah. If you have true or true, of course both of them will be true. Alright, so that is for the OR operator. Alright, and then what if we have here end? So for the end operator, I'll just copy this one and change this to end. So again, for the OR operator, we use the two pipes. So we call that pipe. For the end, we use two ampersand. If you have two end, copy this. Right, so what will be the answer? True and true is what? Anybody? What is true and true? If both sides of the expression are true, of course, this should be true. True or false? So only one expression is true, the rest is false. Of course, all of them will also be false. So the same thing here. False and true is also false. False and false, that is false. So take note of that. So this is what I'm talking about a while ago. We can consider this as shorthand. So once the left side is already true, you don't have to check on the right side. So automatically it's already true. All right. So also in this case, so when you already see at the left that this is already false, you do not have to check on the right side automatically. Since this is end, it will be false. All right. So going back, let me share again my tab. Can you see the slide now? All right. So going back to what I'm explaining a while ago. So assuming that we have two expressions, so it will be evaluated using the type of function. So it will check on the data type of A, and the other side will also be checked for B this time. If in case that both condition will be true, so it will perform a writing on the page which says that variable A or variable B is undefined. If in case that the condition are both false, it will go to another else if condition and we'll try to evaluate again A and B. This time, using the not operator, so it will um, transform the value of A into a -1 because it uses a not operator this time. So not 0 is a positive value or true. And then B here is true. So assuming that not 0 is true, true and true is true, right? So it will display A equal to 0, B equal to true. But in case that this expression is or condition is also false, it will not perform this one, but instead will go to the else statement. Okay? And it will print this value. So we'll try to do this. Let me share my entire screen. Alright, so let's have an example for that. Condition, sorry. On the sample .html. So just copy this here. Just change some values. Instead of alert, we'll try to declare the values. Can you see my screen?
Yes po.
Alright.
Yes po.
So if type of, let's first start with a simple example. Let's just compare first numeric values. So var A, sorry, if A is greater than B, let's see, let's put something on the page. Document that right A is greater than B. So let's just have this one. So let's change the file name. This is only sample1. I'll put this first here. And then I'll put it in a function na lang. And I'll be triggering it using a function. Function display. I'll use a button here. Button type. On click. And this time I'll use on click and then I'll try to call the function. More of the function will be explained by Sir Saleh later. Evaluate. Let's try. So since A is not greater than 5, so nothing is happening. Let's try to use less than. Save. Let's try to refresh this and evaluate. There. So this time, it display A. Baliktad. A is, let me comment on this. The logic is wrong. Sorry about that. A is less than. To emphasize. And let me try that again. There. So A is less than B. So, but what if there's another option? So, assuming we have here an else if. So I'll just be copying this one here. So, if A is less than B, so it will print A less than B. If B, if A is greater than B, so therefore it would print greater than B. Okay, so let's refresh that again. So evaluate, oops, wait, A less than B, why is it not working? For a while, why is it not working? Let me try that again. Document that right. Wait, I lock curly braces, that's why. Here, it's already working. Ay, sorry. Alright, so I lock a close curly brace. So do not forget to check on your curly braces. So this is my opening, closing. I have removed my other condition. Let me change that. So this is the partner for this. This is the opening for this one, line 11, and this 12 is this for number 4. So save. Yes. There. Since our values is A equal to 0 and B equal to 5, so when it evaluates to line number 7, 0 is less than 5, so it will uh, display A is less than B. But if we will try to change the value of A and make it to 10, so this time when it evaluates on line 7, it will be false. Since it is false, it will proceed to the next else condition, which is at line 9. It will compare again A and B, so that's 10 greater than 5. So meaning to say it will display A is greater than B instead. So let's try that. So I made A equal to 10 this time. Evaluate there. So A is greater than B. Okay? So that's how our conditional statement works. But what if there is another condition, or rather, if it doesn't meet this value as well as this value or condition, what will be the next thing to do? So you can have another statement called else and then provide here something to do. Let's say if the values are equal, document that write A is, equal to B. Save that and try that again. So evaluate. I lock curly braces again. Wait lang. This is for this. This is this. Ah, sobra. I had a lot this time. There. So since A is 10 and B is 10, so this time it will display A is equal to B. Alright. So this is a nested if already. Okay. An alternative for this is the switch statement. So let's now discuss switch statement. Okay. For the switch statement, the keywords here are switch, case, break, and default. So when we say um, keywords or reserve words, you cannot use them as variable name or identifiers because they already have a meaning. So for the syntax for the switch, we have switch, enclosed in parentheses is a variable or your set of expression or condition, and then the block will be starting with a bracket or an open curly brace and a closed curly brace or a closed bracket. Inside that block, you will have several cases. You can have case 1, assuming that the initial attempt for the value is 1, and then if you want to perform something, you do it here. So this is just a comment, and then provide a break. And then another condition, if in case the variable is not equal to 1, but instead it's equal to a character A, then you perform something again, and then it will break. If in case that it's not equal to 1 and not equal to A, it will now check if it is equal to 3.14. So if it's equal to 3.14, and then another code will be done here, or and then after doing that, then it will break. And then if it's not equal to 1, not equal to A, not equal to 3.14, this time it will go to the default statement and perform something here, depending on what you will be implementing. So what is the purpose of the break statement? The purpose of the break statement is whenever that a case is already satisfied here, it will no longer go to the other cases. It will simply exit. So assuming that the value of the variable is equal to 1, after performing the task, it will go to the break statement and exit from this switch statement. It no longer evaluate for the case A, 3.14, and the default. All right. Before we go to the loop, let us first, why did I stop sharing? I'm sharing my entire screen pala. Sorry. So let me share again my entire screen. And let's have an example for the switch. We're just going to have a simple example again to use the switch. So this time, um, I'll just copy this. I'll close this first. I'll copy this code. I'll just duplicate this actually. Copy and then paste. And I'll just be renaming. So this will become the sample 2. And then, of course, we have to, instead of if, we will try to use if a switch statement. Okay. So switch. Let's first have a variable. So var A. Let's say initially let's set it to 0. And let's have a switch statement here. Switch A, and then curly braces again, and then case, let's say 0 colon document dot write. Let's say I'll display the word 0. Case 1, display document dot write 1. is, let's say it's a character A, document that right A for Apple. In case that we have 3.14 document that right, let's display this is a decimal value on my, and then otherwise if there's no condition that is met, so we can simply display not in the list. If you notice, I haven't used yet a break statement because I want you to see how this will work without the switch. So let me save this and then let's try to refresh it again. Then using, take note, I initially set my variable a to 0. So meaning to say, I'm assuming that it will just pause on line 7 for this condition. It will display the word 0. Okay? So that is what I'm expecting. So let's try that. So evaluate. Ay, sorry. I have a different file name, kundi sample 2. Alright, so let's try it again. Evaluate. Look what happened. All the rest were displayed. The 0, the 1 word, the A for apple, this is a decimal value and not in the list. So everything else is displayed because we did not include a break statement for each case. So that's how break statement is very important. So that when a condition is already met, it will simply exit from the condition or from the switch statement. For the default, probably we don't need that. So let's try evaluate. There, since A is equal to 0, it will display the word 0. If I'll change this to 1, let me start that again. So evaluate, this time it displays 1. Let's change this to a character A. Do not forget the single quote because it's a character. So when you evaluate, there, A is for apple. Let's try to change this again to 3.14. Save, and then refresh. Evaluate, not in the list. Why? Ay, because not in the list because I place a single quote. So 3.14 as a character is not equal to 3.14 as decimal. So we have to remove the single quote. I've already tested the default because it doesn't match any of this previously. Then I remove now the single quote. This time I'm expecting that this is a decimal. It will be true in this line 10. Let's save that and then refresh this and then evaluate. There, this is a decimal value. If you want to include the value being displayed, you can concatenate it here inside. So you just have to call the variable a and then use the concatenation operator. You can add something. The verb a is probably an equal sign. Will do. Okay, so let's try that again. Say 3.14. There's no space. I have to put a space. Then, there. 3.14. This is a decimal value. If we put something like 0 again, yeah, 0 is equal to 0. Okay? You have questions so far? So we're done with the if and we're also done with the switch. So those two are your options if you will be having conditional statements. Let's now proceed with the for loop, with the looping rather, not only for loop. There are several looping conditions. Let me share my screen again. Can you now see the slide? Can you see the slide? Knock, knock. Can you see my
Yes
slide?
po.
All right, thank you, Iyo. Yan. So in this part, we have several loop condition. Just like in C Sharp, C++, and Java, we have for, while, and do while. So let's have this example. Assuming that you have a variable called counter, you will use this counter inside your for loop. So for the for loop syntax, we have here the for was our keyword, and then close in parentheses, you use three arguments. What are those arguments? The first argument is an initialization. So we're setting an initial value for the variable counter to be equal to 0, and then separate them by semicolon. The second argument will be the condition, and then another semicolon. So the third argument this time is an increment operator. You have two options here. You can do an increment or you can do a decrement. In this case, since our initial value is 0 and our condition is less than 4, so it's assumed that you want to increment the value. That's why we're using the increment operator. So when you do that, in this example, it will just simply display all the values of your counter from 0 to 3. Okay? Not including 4 because the condition is counter less than 4. Okay. If you'll have an alternative for the for loop, you can also have the while loop. So for the while loop, assuming that the variable counter is also declared and have set to the value 0, so it will simply have a similar effect in this part. But the increment value for the for loop in the while loop, it was done inside the alert. But also you can do that outside. So let's try that as well as the do while. I think I do not have. Yeah. I'll just made the example for all of this looping statement. Let's go back to our Visual Studio. Okay, so let's now have a looping statement. I think I have already here an example for that part there. So I directly use the script element inside my body. Previously, we have separated inside the head, and then I've used a function. And then I trigger them using the button. This time, we're going to directly display the value of the counter using an alert uh, pop-up box. Okay? So initially, the counter is equal to 0, and then we'll increment it until the counter is reaches less than 4, or until it reaches 4. So it has a value from 0, 1 to 3. So it will have 4 values. It's predetermined already. So let's save this and let's try that here. So my file name is loop1. There. So this is the alert box. So initially, it displays 0 because that's the initial value. Then when I click OK, it will now display 1 because it increments to 1. And then since 1 is still less than 4, when you click on OK, it will still display 2 because it still satisfies the condition. And then when I click again OK, 3 is less than 4, so it will still display. And then when I click another OK, this time it will no longer display anything because our condition is only until 3. So 0 to 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. So 4 values. So let's have an alternative. Instead of 4, let's use a while loop instead. So let me first comment on this and then use while loop instead. So while, but this time I have to initialize my counter. So I'll do that directly in the declaration. And then inside my while, so I'll have to use open and close parentheses as well, and then try to compare counter if it is less than 5. Let's say I'll just have the same result as what the for loop have. And then inside my block, I will also display that using an alert pop-up box. And then I could do the incrementing inside, or I can do it here. Counter plus plus. And then, ayan, let's now try that. So save everything. And then let's reload this again since I'm still using the same file name. So I'll just simply refresh the page there. So it will simply again display 0 and then click again OK. So since it's still less than 4, so it will continuously to display, then 2, and then 3. And then when it reaches 4, it will no longer display. So both for and while loop did the same. Okay, let's try another one using this time a do while. So I'll just comment on this and then try to do something, but this time using a do while loop. So in my do while, I'll just do the same, alert, and then increment the counter. But this time, my condition will be set in the at the bottom. So do while counter less than 4 also, and semicolon. So it is expected that this loop will also have the same result. So let's save this and then refresh. And then it displays 0, then click OK, and then since 1 is still less than 4, it will still display, then 2, it increments to 2, so 2 less than 4, it will still display, then 3 less than 4, it will still display, then it will now exit from the loop. Okay, but what if I made my condition greater than 4? What do you think will be my output? Anybody? What will be the output if I make my condition greater than 4? Will I still have an output or not? Can I see an answer from you guys? What will happen? Can I see an answer at the chat box? Thank you, Nathan. Only one output. And what is that output? Not. What will be the output? What value will be displayed? And what is that? Assuming that this is our initial value. So this is correct, the value of the counter. But what is exactly the value of the counter based on the given? On line 7, our counter is equal to 0. Thank you, Nat. There. So let's try that. So let me save this again and let me refresh. There. So we have 0, but then when we click on OK, yan, there's no longer a display because our condition is already false. So that is the difference between while and do while. In the do while, you have performed the block or the task at least once before the evaluation. And since this is false already, you can now exit the loop and not anymore continue. Okay? Then let's now proceed with the array. So Our next topic is about array. Can you see my slide? Can you see the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Alright, so let's talk about array because this is one important topic that you'll be needing in the creation of your web pages. So similarly to other programming, an array is an index list of elements. Just this can hold multiple values of data. So let's say for example, you want to store data about fruits similar to this one. So you have fruit 1, fruit 2, fruit 3, and fruit 4. Just like in any other programming language, you access the array values through their indices. Okay? And the index or the first index of the first element of your array is always 0. Okay? Assuming that the array is, not assuming, it's really a fact that an array is a storage. It can hold multiple values of data. And then again, you access them through their index. And their index is similar to an address. Okay? So if you want to access this strawberry or fruit 1, so you access them through their name, to the name of the array, and then close in square bracket are their indices. So in this case, fruit 1 is at index 0, while fruit 2 is at index 1, while fruit 3, which is an apple, is at index 2. Then the last fruit, which is watermelon, is at index 3. Okay? So when you are asked how many or what is the length of your array, it is 4. But when you refer to the index, it is minus 1. So the last element, the last index of the last element of the array is the length minus 1. Okay? So again, you access them through their indices. In our example, fruit is our identifier, or meaning it's the name of the array. And then when you are asked what is the length of the fruit array, it is 4 because it has 4 elements. Okay? Although you start your index with 0. Can also, instead of having to declare several variables and um, storing similar values or similar data type, such as this one, let's say you want to store name of students, and assuming that you will have 4 students, so student 1, student 2, student 3, and student 4. Instead of doing that, you can use array instead. But assuming that you have done this, you can set initial values to them one at a time. Okay? And then you can simply write the name of the students using document that write. So write document write 1, student 1. So this will display Jose. The student number 2 will simply display Juan. Student 3 is Simon. And then student 4 is Dan. But if you're going to use an array, you can simply declare it. You can set also a name and then declare it or instantiate it using the operator new. Okay? So if you remember your Java, so new operator is used for instantiating an array. So in this case, you are declaring an array with 4 um, values, okay, or the size of 4. So meaning to say, you'll be accessing this time a student with the following index. So you can have index 0, index 1, index 2, and index 3. And then assign individual values to those specific indices. And then if you want to retrieve the values of your array, you can simply use a looping statement such as the for loop. Remember, you're not limited to use for, you can also use while and do while. But it is a best practice for arrays to use for loop because you can have already a predefined set of counter uh, for as your index, and then condition, and then incrementation inside. Okay, so let's try that first. Let's go back to our Visual Studio. Let me close this. Let's create a new file. I already have here a sample for the array. Ay, muna yan. Let's create our own. So array 1 dot html. Okay, I'll use a function. I'll use a script first, of course. Inside my script, I'll write a function called just use the same display array. And then inside my array, I will declare, I'll just use the same example in the slide. So I'll use student. And new array, say 4 is the size. I can initialize them by using their index 0, 1, student 1, some, copy this, and then change the index to 2, and then 3, and then change this to Jane and Samantha. Alright, and then we'll try to use a for loop for displaying the items in the student names, assuming that I'll have a variable called index set to 0, and then my condition would be index less than 4, index plus plus. And then inside my for loop, I'll be retrieving the values I'll be displaying. Document that right, student. And then using index, was my index. And then to trigger that, in the body, I'll again use a button. Button, type, button, on click equal to display underscore array. Okay, let's have a display. It's for the button. Okay. So I'll just change the name. This would be array 1. Oops. Yeah. Then simply display them. I forgot to put a break. So you have to put a break statement here, a BR. Try that again. There. So this is the first value, 1, Sam, Jane, and then Samantha. Okay? But what if I want to declare an array instead of instantiating? Can I directly assign them? So another way to do this is, sorry, say student. Let's use the fruits. Let's say I have here wait. Do not have an example here. Wait. So you can do it like this. Let me share again my screen. So instead of declaring it, if you already have your predefined values for your array, so you can directly assign them by using square bracket. So let's say you have apple, orange, uh, banana, watermelon, and strawberry. So you can simply access them again using their index. Since we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, our index would be, our condition would be index less than 5. And then use the name of this array to our document.write. And then save, try that again. There. So if we have apple, orange, banana, watermelon, and then strawberry. Okay? Then let's go back to our slide. Okay, so that's what we did, di ba? Assigning values to our array. You can also directly assign. Let's say you want to overwrite the previous value in a particular element. Let's say in this example A, in the second element you want to assign 5. Okay, previously probably it has a different value. Or for a name, let's say the last value, assuming that 5 is the last index of the array, you want to change it to May. Or you can also do it like this. So number equal to 5, you can use that number as the index. So name of number, meaning name of 5, index 5, you will assign the value May. Okay. So we can also do that here. So for example, you want to change the value of banana. Instead of banana, you change it to another fruit. So assuming we will change this to, sorry. Instead of the fruit banana, change it to, so the index of banana is 0, 1, 2. So it's at index 2. So assuming you want to change it to, what are fruits? What fruits do you like? Apple, orange, banana, watermelon. I can't think of any. Can you suggest something? I'm out of fruits. Guys, can you help me? I can't think of any fruits. You're so quiet. What else pa ba? Mango. There, I think now of one. So let's try this. I'll change the banana to mango. So save. So initially, it will still display the initial fruits. And then after that, it will display, let me put something here. Document, that right. Initial fruit list. Here. And new list. Okay. Why did it not display? Because I use fruits. Sorry. Fruits of two. Try that again. We have additional break because just make this. Ay, pati nagganon pa pala ako. Wait lang. I can put the break at the beginning of the document here. Alright, so let's try that again. Here. So this is the initial fruit list. We have apple, orange, banana, watermelon, strawberry. Since I changed banana to mango, this time the third element is now mango. Alright. Let's go back to our slide. This is just the same. What it just did is it references a variable instead of a direct index. Okay. Take note that JavaScript arrays are heterogeneous. Unlike many other popular languages, a JavaScript array can hold elements of multiple data type. Yan. So in our previous example, what we have is we set our values to similar values, similar data type rather. But actually, you can have different values. You can combine uh, numerical values or decimal values with string as well as with a character, or probably an A here is a numeric value. Again, you can set the length of the property. So instead of us using counters to determine the length, you can use a length property. Okay. Just finish this. Take note that the length is depending on the number of elements. So in this example, x equal to new array. When you are asked what is the length of this array, this is 10. So instead of having this x less than 10, probably later on you want to change the size. So you also have to change the value here. So instead of doing that, you can simply use the length property. So that's the difference between these two. So in any way that you want to change the array size, you no longer have to change the code for your or your condition for your for loop, because it will just simply determine the length of the array. You can also use certain methods such as sort or functions that could automatically sort a given array. So if you have these values, so let's say you instantiated x to have 4 values, and then you initialize them to Juan, Jose, Samantha, and Donna, and then you can simply use x.sort, so it will automatically sort these values. Okay, so let's try that. Okay, let's have another example. Let's just copy this and then paste it here. Just close this and then rename this array 2. So for this array, let's try to have first an example with different values for our array. Let's have a different name. ARR. Let's change this. Alright, and then let's change the values. Let's say this is a numeric value. Let's say 120. This is 10.5. This is Jane. Let's say this is 2, a Boolean value. And let's try to change this. Values of array. Alright, so instead of roots, we call our array as ARR. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So our index is index less than 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3. We only have 4. Alright, so let's save this. Yes. So save and then let's refresh. Display. Ay, wait, I changed the name pala. Sorry. Okay. So see, it still accept even though we have different data types as our values. We have this numerical value, whole number, we have um, decimal, we have string, and then we have boolean. So it was accepted by our array. Okay? And then what if we want to test the size? So again, you can simply say that, document that, right? Let's say I'll put some string here, length of the array is, and then I'll concatenate and call the name of the array and then get the length. Let's try that. Okay. Oops. I forgot to put some break here. Save. Hmm? There. So the length of the array is 4, and this is the values of the array. Let me put it first before the label values. There. So length of the array is 4. Values of the array are the following: 120, 10.5, Jane, and true. There. Question? Do you have a question?
None po.
None. Sir, I'm now giving you the virtual floor to discuss the rest of the topic. Thank you, guys.
Thank you po, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Maybe we can take break for 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure. A 10-minute break probably.
Okay, 10 minutes.
Let's have a timer.
Okay, guys, uh, welcome back to our session. So, my session will be talking about, we'll be discussing about function and events. Okay, but my discussion will not taking long. Okay, because all the information are about the application. How can we use JavaScript with the function and apply to our web design, right? uh, Alright, for function, actually we can use function for our uh, web design. Function JavaScript function for our web design. Actually, Ma'am Alma already covered a lot about function, and you can see already the structure of the function that Ma'am Alma have been covered. Okay, from the previous sessions. But I will cover the small thing of a function, revisit again. Okay, the structure of the function. This is the structure of the function. We need to start with the functions and function name, and inside the function there is a parameter. Okay, and don't forget to to put the brackets, open brackets and closing brackets, and inside the function is your code. Okay, for me, I will cover the use of functions as at here. Okay, I will uh, do some demonstration here. Okay, for my presentation, I will cover also events. Okay, event, we use event in order to give the uh, instruction to our to our, I mean, to give the behavior of for our JavaScript. Okay, let's I see this one. Alright, okay, in order to use function, first of all I would like to call the HTML. Okay, and I will change the JavaScript here. Okay, so I will put my function at the head of the HTML document. Okay, so we will start the script here, right? Okay, before that I will create one uh, head heading text heading text, which is hello world. Right, and then I will create a button. Okay, button is where we can put our events. Okay, and the name of button is, okay, click me, right? So when we save and go to live, open our script and live server, and you can see there is a text that we create here and also buttons. Now we will use a function to change this text. Okay, by clicking this button. Okay, and we will assign event on this button, right? Okay, so in order to do that, you need to create ID. Okay, the selector that we have learned from the CSS class, CSS session. You can use ID or class as well, okay, but we recommend to use id. Okay, so id, maybe here we can call demo. Okay, because we want to change this tag by using this id. Now we will write a function here. Okay, so we will start the function, right, and follow by function name. Okay, maybe here my first js, right? Okay, now we will put uh, our code here, documents dot, okay, get elements by, okay, id. In the bracket we use the same name here, demo. Okay, so now we want to change information on our html text, so we will use inner html. Okay, equal, what do you want to change here, what text that we want to change here. Okay, so we can change my first js, okay, javascript. Okay, right, so finish this one for the function. Now we will use this function on our events. Okay, with the events, which on the click buttons, on the button. So in order to have there are many types of event here where we can use. This is a common html events, so you can use on change, on click, on mouse over, on mouse out, on key down, okay, on load. For here we will use on click, okay, because the button function will be clicking by the user. Okay, will be clicked by the user. So on the button we will put on, okay, click, like this. After that we will put the function name, okay, inside here, function name. This is my first js, okay, as our function name here. Okay, after that we can, now we save, and let's see the result. Okay, so when we refresh this page and we click on this button, you can see our text is changed. Okay, like this, right? So next we can use these things uh, for changing other contents, like we will change the contents image here. Okay, when we click the button we will change to another image, right? So how can we find image? So I would like to recommend this one. Okay, flat icon, where you can download some icon or some image here for free. Okay, and I would like to go to sticker. Actually here you can find many icons, okay, for your web design. So after this, maybe you can use this website to improve your website, your design, your website. Try to use some icon here. Okay, so how can we use that? We use this website. I will go to stickers because I want to download some at least 2 images here. I will use this stay at home sticker. Okay, right, and maybe I want to use this picture. You just click the button there. You just click, there is a download button, png, and click free download here. So wait for a while, your sticker will be downloaded, and I will download one more sticker here, and go to click free download. Alright, okay, now uh, we have two icon here, two picture here, right? What we will do, okay, try to create a folder here, new folder. I will call this folder as img. This is image. Okay, and I will drag this image to this folder. Okay, and also this image to this folder. Right, now I will rename it. Okay, all right. Okay, now we have two images, and I will create another div. So maybe this is our second div. The first div will be here. Right, so the second div, I will import one image. Okay, so find the image location here. This is first image, so I will adjust the size, maybe 50%. Alright, okay, just nice. Okay, now I will provide a button. Okay, VR button. Maybe I will call this button img01. Okay, save. See, and I will add the second button. I will copy this one. Okay, alright, maybe for the div I will put style. Okay, text align, center. Okay, now everything at the center. Or maybe I will put here style. Okay, div text align, center. Right, this better. Right, VR. Okay. Oh, it's not here. Alright, so now we will write uh, function to change. When we click on the first image, it will be the first image, and we will click on the second image, we will call the second image here. Okay, t times. Okay, so what should we do is we will define the id, right? So maybe here we call uh, image change, maybe, yeah. Right, and go to, okay, alright. So now we write another function. Okay, this functions, okay, maybe you can use image 01. Right, here us, don't forget to put the bracket, right? So we call documents get elements by id, right? So the id is image change, okay, dot source src equal slash img slash this image name. Okay, copy, right, save, and go to the second function. Okay, image 2, but you can change t time t time, like this. Save. So for the buttons on, we will call event on click, right, and put the function here, function name, and another ones on click as well. So take the image 2, like this. So try to save. Now it's working. Okay, image 1, image 2, and you can continue with the more image here, right? So I think this is the function that that we can use for our web design. Okay, like this. Okay, all right. I think that's all from my part. Ah, Ma'am Alma, maybe I will give the floor to Ma'am Alma. Do you have any question so far? All right.
None po.
Okay, thank you.
They love the images.
Thank you. Thanks, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. I give the floor to you, ma'am.
All right, guys. So again, good evening. I lost my background. I'm still in the office.
I see.
We'll be giving you a simple exercise. Actually, you can see that in my slide. The slide is already uploaded. Let me share that again. The last part of my presentation has a practice exercise. Probably could also embed some functionality that was presented by by Sir Burhan. Let me share my screen. So it's here. So you can create a web page that prompts the user to enter 10 words and then display them in the following form. First, uh, you display them according to how they entered it. You can use the prompt box, and then after that you sort them. So there will be two display. First is the one in the order in how the user entered it, and then the second display would be a sorted list. Okay? Do you have any more questions? Do you have question, guys? You do not have questions?
There's a question. Does it need
Huh?
design?
I'm sorry, sir.
There's a question for John.
Uh,
Does it
in the
need
chat box.
design?
Wait, I can see them. Ah, have you seen what I was sharing? I think I did not able to share the screen. Sorry about that. Here, can you now see the screen, the slide? The question is, does it needs design? Probably you can have just a simple design, but not so much. We want you to focus really on your project. So put all your designing skills in your project instead of in this practice exercise. This is just a simulation on how much you learn about JavaScript for today. Okay? So you'll just be able to apply what you learned. But the rest, we want you to give more emphasis on the project because that's our real goal at the end of this course. So probably, sir, we could give them. There's still another question. Is it ascending or descending? If you want, you can do both, ascending and descending. So I'm giving you the privilege on choosing, or you can do both because that is just a simple activity. And then what else? Are there still more questions? Do you have more questions? My background was removed. None? You do not have any more questions? So we will give you the rest of the time to do the practice exercise as well as to collaborate with your team to prepare for your project. File name, probably practice exercise will do since you submit that individually. Do they have the container, sir, for the submission?
Yes,
Can we create one, please?
we already create a
We
submission.
have one. All right. So practice exercise and type in the file name. So this might do practice exercise.html. Other concerns and question? Do you have other things to say, sir? So that they could proceed with the
Yes,
exercise.
they can proceed with the exercise. I think there is no anything. There is no any additional task for today.
All right.
And maybe they can improve more on their design. Okay.
Maybe we would ask them to share them next meeting probably.
Yes, yes.
They could use the rest of the time today for the practice exercise as well as to collaborate with their team. I hope that the team who has a communication problem last time, I hope you are communicating now. If you have problem with your group mates, you can send us a message so that we could meet them, Sir Saleh and I.
Yeah.
Probably we could stay until 9, sir. And then after 9, they could proceed on their own. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, yeah. It's okay.
Okay, so I'll just be quiet here and Sir Saleh as well. If you have questions, just type in the chat box. Thank you.
Okay. Pergi tu dia panggil. Ah boleh lah. Oh apa? Sampai dulu. Okak lagi dah. Tu atau klik lagi cotua dulu. Nak tu tengok gi oh gi diam ke gi tanya kata. Hmm. Oh kita pergi dulu. Nanti ada tu. Memang nak ya ke apa. Pergi dulu. Tak apa mati kok. Goyak lah. Nanti bawa kalau boleh dah goyak pergi apa panggil. Kecek dengan warna kecek dengan apa tolong cari ke wah cari ke tu tolong bakak tolong cari apa dia searchingจะเป็นฝ่ายซับเลยต้องเป็นงานของฝ่ายทรัพยากรมันมีรายละอักษรไหมsupport banning support ngawal giceng nak ginago atau nak ahli pah diaก็เป็นกระบวนการเดียวกัน dengan sini juga atauว่าก็แจ้งว่าเราจะออกเขาก็มีตำแหน่งว่างเดี๋ยวเขาก็มีคนมารีกปก็ยังmasuk robot dia ya support ya kira ni tu มันคือกระบวนการเดียวกันพวกพนักงานมันคือกระบวนการเดียวกัน cuma dia malah nak kerjaไม่ใช่หน้าที่ว่าทีtak apalah pergi boleh tu kalau lepas tu dia nanti nara boleh tunggu kena kan dia kau discuss pula lah oh ya macam tu apa tu apa panggil dia panggil tu kau ada duit tak okey 10,000 nak lalu apa pergi dulu bah dah banyak belum cuma ruang tang dah musafir bekak tak apa boleh dah tu pergi kebunkan je waktu dulu you guess ke isak usaha ya dia kami bela kamu je tak apa lah guys, uh, you can continue uh, at home. Okay, if you have done this one, you can upload it to our classroom. So if you are not finished yet, so please continue. And I think Ma'am Alma, we can allow them to finish earlier today.
Yes, sir, sure.
All right,
We
okay.
could dismiss them.
All right. So you may
Leave now.
leave earlier today. Okay, you may leave now. All right. See you next week. See you next session next week. Bye bye.
Hi,
Goodbye,
guys.
teacher.
Bye bye.
Good night.
Goodbye, teacher.
Take
Goodbye.
care. Okay.
Thank you po, teacher and ma'am.
Goodbye, teacher, and goodbye, everyone.
I'll go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Take care, ma'am.